Okay, so this is the project of Angels, or more so, this is what I have recovered after losing a hard drive. We'll start with the base batch. I will turn off all the processing in Ableton and as well in Serum and show you how it sounds. So, as you can hear, it's pretty basic. Actually, it's a square wave with a filter and a layered in sine wave that is a little bit higher, actually 2 octaves and 7 semitones up. After that, I'm adding a little bit of hyperdimension and wavefold distortion, which is starting to create that characteristic dense timbre of this bass. So as you can hear, this bass sound is super basic. It is very, very simple, but what makes it alive and work in the song actually is the movement, or more motion, which is basically emotion. And I have a macro 1 mapped to a few parameters as well as macro 2. In the effect track, we have a phase distortion from kilohertz, which is very essential to this sound, I feel. It's adding that unique tonality. And also I'm heavily automating it to go in just in those selected areas, because this effect tends to make your sound very complex and very dense, which is way too much. But if you have a very pure sine wave tone or just a few harmonics, this can do wonders if you automate it to create a rhythm with it. Overall, I really like those complex effects that make a big mess out of your sound just to automate them and came in a very designed timing. After that, we have a tiny bit of rift. Which is adding just a tiny bit of crunch on top that will later be more present after the whole processing chain. After that, I have applied overdrive, which is also being automated. Its mix, drive, and frequency is mapped to the macro 1 in the effect track. Without that, that will be pretty lifeless bass sound. And after that overdrive, which adds a whole bunch of harmonics, I'm filtering them out with a notch filter to create some sort of simple vowel sound that I just love about Neuro basses. And it sounds so uncanny. I just love it. And my idea behind all of that design is to create motion and make the sound follow its natural rhythm. I started with a really clean sound, and then it started to lead somewhere, and I just wanted to push it where it wanted to go and be really careful about not doing the opposite, because it's really easy, I feel, nowadays when you have a lot of effects. It's really easy to just get lost and lose your objective. So with this one, I tried to be as focused as possible. Also because this track is pretty much an homage to old Neuro stuff I still love to listen to. A little bit redundant maybe, I'm cutting the low end once again, and after that I've applied an ozone low end focus. I've totally forgot about this effect nowadays, but what it does is basically creates a dip between your sub and higher harmonics. It can also denoise that area, I feel like, And I don't know, it just worked there. There was not that much thought behind that effect, probably, but it does sound better. Less flat, maybe, but after that, I'm splitting the low frequencies and high frequencies at around 180 Hz, and I'm applying a tiny bit of Valhalla room to the high end. And I find this reverb to really do wonders on sounds like that, where you just want a very simple space or to even enhance the emptiness, because it's really interesting, because kind of you can't add space to your track. Adding space is just subtracting other elements to create that space. But here, without any reverb or reflections, this isn't as empty as with those reflections. Because then your brain goes, oh, so it is in a room and that room is empty. And I love that feeling. Later, I'm controlling the low end and high end with a multi-band compressor. Pretty hardcore settings, to be honest. I wanted to keep the original sub. I often tend to keep the original one, especially when I have a lot of filter movements, because essentially what this does, it changes the pitch of harmonics when you sweep through, and it creates all that micro movement that makes the sound powerful and not like that robotic stuff. And it's kind of hard to replicate all that micro movements with a separate sub. It is possible. I also like to layer a separate clean sub with the original dirty but full of movement one.